Assalamualaikum everyone, welcome to a brand new video. Today we are going to talk about that it's hard to believe, but speed demons drive more safely than so-called careful drivers. Why? Well, consider this: the distance from Miami to West Palm Beach is around 75 miles, and drivers who cover the distance in an hour or less we categorize as reckless drivers because they are traveling at an average of 75 miles per hour or more. All other we put into group of careful drivers, which group experience fewer accidents. Without a doubt, it's the reckless drivers. They all completed the journey in less than an hour, so they could not have been involved in any accidents. This automatically puts all drivers who end up in accidents with the slower drivers category. This example illustrates Treacherous fallacy, the so-called intention to retreat error. Unfortunately, unfortunately, there is no catchier term for it. This might sound to you like the survivor ship bias chapter 1, but it's different. In the survivorship bias, you only see the survivors, not the field project workers involved in accidents. In the intention to treat error, the field project workers have with accidents prominently show up just in the wrong category. A banker showed me an interesting study recently. Its conclusion: companies with debt on their bank balance sheet significantly more profitable than firms with no debt. Equitably, the banker vehemently insisted that every company should borrow at will, and of course his bank is the best place to do it. I examined the study more closely. How could that be? Indeed, from 1,000 randomly selected firms, those with large loans displayed higher returns not only on their equity but also on their total capital. They were in every respect more successful than the independently financed firms. Then the penny dropped. Unprofitable companies don't get corporate loans, thus they form part of the equity-only group. The other firms that make up this set have bigger cash cushions, stay afloat longer, and no matter how sickly they are, rebel part of the study. On the other side, firms that have borrowed a lot go bankrupt more quickly. Once they cannot pay back the interest, the banks take over and the company is sold off, thus disappearing from the sample. The ones that remain in the debt group are then relatively healthy, regardless of how much debt they have amassed on their balance sheet. If you're thinking, okay, got it, watch out, the intention to treat error is not easy to recognize. A fictional example from medicine, pharmaceutical pharmaceutical company has developed a new drug to fight heart disease. A proof study proves that it significantly reduces patients' mortality rates. The data speaks for itself. Among patients who have taken the drug regularly, the 5-year mortality rate is 15%. For those who have swallowed placebo pills, it's about the same, indicating that the pill doesn't work. However, and this is crucial, the mortality rate of patients who have taken a drug at irregular intervals is 30%, twice as high. A big difference between high regular and irregular intake. So the pill is a complete success, or is it? Here is the snag. The pill is probably not the decisive factor. Rather, it is the patient's behavior. Perhaps patients discontinued the pills following severe side effects and thus landed in the irregular intake category. Maybe they were so ill that there was no way to continue on regular basis. Either way, only relatively healthy patients remain in the regular group, which makes the drug look a lot more effective than it really is. The really sick patients who, for this very reason, couldn't take the drug on a regular basis ended up populating the irregular intake group. In reputable studies, medical researchers evaluate all the data whom they originally intend to treat. It doesn't matter if they take part in the trial or they drop out. Unfortunately, many studies flout this rule. Whether this is intentional or accidental remains to be seen. Therefore, on your guard, always check whether test subjects, drivers who end up in accidents, bankrupt companies, critically ill patients have for whatever reason vanished from the sample, so you should file the study where it belongs in the trash can. Why you should not read the news. Earthquake in Sumatra, plane crash in Russia, man holds daughter captive in cellar for 30 years, Heidi Klum separates from seal record salaries at Bank of America attack in Pakistan, resignation of Mali's president, new world record in Southport. You really need to know all these things. We are incredibly well informed, yet we know incredibly little. Why? Because 2 centuries ago we invented a toxic form of knowledge called news. News to the mind that sugar to body, appetizing, easy to digest, and highly destructive in the long run. 3 years ago, I began an experiment. I stopped reading and listening to the news. I cancelled all newspaper and magazine subscriptions, all newspaper, television, radio were disposed of. I deleted the news apps from my iPhone. I didn't touch a single free newspaper and deliberately looked the other way when someone on plane tried to offer me any such reading material. The first 2 weeks were hard, very hard. I constantly afraid of missing something, but after a while I had a new outlook. The result after 3 years clearly thoughts, more valuable insights, better research, and much more time. And the best thing, I haven't missed anything important. My work, social network, not Facebook, the one that exists in the real world, consisting of flesh and blood, friends, acquaintances, works as a news filter and keeps me in the loop. A dozen results exist to give news a wide berth. Here are the top three. First, our brains react disproportionately to different types of information. Scandalous, shocking, people-based, loud, fast-changing details all stimulate us, whereas abstract, complex, and unprocessed information sedates us. News producers capitalize on these gripping stories, garish images, and sensational fact capture our attention. Recall for a moment their business models, advertisers by station, the finance, the news circus on the condition that all their ads will be seen. The result, everything subtle, complex, abstract, and profound must be systematically filtered out, even though such stories are much more relevant to our lives and to our understanding of the world as a result of news consumption. We walk around with a distorted mental map of the risks and threats we actually face. Secondly, news is irrelevant. In the past 12 months, you have probably consumed about 10,000 news snips, perhaps as many as 30 per day. Be very honest. Name one of them, just one that helped you make a better decision for your life, your career, or your business compared with no having this piece of news. No one I have asked have been able to name more than two useful news stories out of 10,000 miserable results. News organizations assert that their information gives you a competitive advantage. Too many falls for this. In reality, news consumption represents a competitive disadvantage. If really news help people advance, journalists would be at the top of the income pyramid. They aren't quite the opposite. Third, news is a waste of time. An average human being squanders half a day each week on reading about current affairs in global terms. This is an immense loss of productivity. Take the take the 20 take the 2008 terror attacks in Mumbai. Out of sheer thirst for recognition, terrorists murdered 200 people. Let's say billion people devoted an hour of their time to following the aftermath. They viewed the minute by minute updates and listened to the insane chatter of a few experts and commentators. This is very realistic guesstimate since India has more than a billion inhabitants. Thus, our conservation calculation 1 billion multiplied by an hour's distraction equals 1 billion hours of work stoppage. If we convert this, we learn that news consumption wasted around 2000 lives, 10 times more the attack. A sarcastic but accurate observation. I predict that turning your back on news will benefit you as much as purging any other 98 flaws we have covered in the pages of this book. Kick the habit completely. Instead, read long backward articles and books. And yes, nothing beats books for understanding the world. Epilogue. Okay, I'm gonna take a break. Hmm. So the Pope asked Michelangelo, tell me the secret of your genius. How have you created the status of David, the masterpiece of all the masterpieces? Michelangelo's answer, it's simple. I remove everything that is not David. Let's be honest, we don't know for sure what makes us successful. We can't pinpoint exactly what makes us happy, but we know with certainty that what destroys success or happiness. This realization, as simple as it is, a fundamental negative knowledge. It's much more important than positive knowledge. Thinking more clearly and acting more shrewdly means adapting Michelangelo's method. Don't focus on debit. Instead, focus on everything that is not debit and chisel it away. In our case, eliminate all errors and better thinking will follow. The Greek, Romans, and medieval thinkers had a term for this approach, via negative beta, literally the negative path, the path of renunciation, of exclusion and reduction. Theologians were the first trade the via negativita. We cannot say what God is, but we can say other. We cannot say what brings us success. We can pin down only the thing that blocks or obliterates success, eliminate the downside, the thinking errors, and the upside will take care of itself. This is all we need to know. As a novelist and company founder, I have fallen into a variety of traps. Fortunately, I was always able to free myself from them. Nowadays, when I hold presentations in front of doctors, CEOs, board members, investors, politicians, or government officials, I sense a kinship. I feel that we are sitting in the same boat. After all, we all are trying to row through life without getting swallowed up by the maelstroms. Still, many people are uneasy with the via negativita. It is counterintuitive. It is even counter-cultural, flying in the face of contemporary wisdom. But look around and you will find plenty of examples of the via negativa at work. This is what the legendary investors Warren Buffett writes about himself and his partner Charlie Munger. Charlie and I have not learned how to solve difficult business problems. What we have learned is to avoid them. Welcome to the Via Negativa. I have listed almost 1,000 thinking errors in this book without answering the question, what are thinking errors anyway? What is irrationally? we do fall into this traps. Two theory of irrationally exist, a hot and a cold. The hot theory is as old as the hills. Here is Plato's analogy. A rider steers wildly galloping horses. The rider signifies reason, and galloping horses embody emotions, reason tames feelings. If this fails irrationally, runs free. Another example, feelings are like bubbling lava. Usually reason can keep a lid on them, but every now and then the lava of irrationality erupts, hence hot irrationality. There is no example. There's no reason to fret about logic. It's error free. It's the just that sometimes emotions overpower it. This hot theory of irrationality boiled and bubbled for centuries. For John Cobb, the founder of a strict form of Protestantism in the 500s, such feelings represented evil, and only by focusing on could you repel them. People who underwent volcanic eruptions and emotions were the devil. They were tortured and killed. According to Austrian psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud's theory, rationalist ego and moralistic superego control the impulsive idea. But that theory holds less water in the real world. Forget about obligation and discipline to believe that we can completely control our emotion through thinking and illusory illusory as trying to make your hair grow by willing to. On the other hand, the cold theory of irrationality is still young. After the Second World War, many researched for explanations about irrationality of the Nazis. Emotional outbursts were rare in Hitler's leadership ranks. Even his fiery speeches were nothing more than masterful performances. It was not molten eruptions in the stone cold calculations that resulted in the Nazi madness. The same can be said of Stalin or the Khmer Rouge in the 1960s. Psychologists began to do away with Freud's claims and to examine our thinking, our decisions, and actions scientifically. The result was a cold theory of irrationality that states thinking is in itself not pure but prone to error. This affects everyone, even highly intelligent people fall into the same cognitive traps. Likewise, errors are not randomly distributed. We systematically err in the same direction that makes our mistakes predictable and thus fixable to a degree, but only to a degree, never completely. For a few decades, the origins of these errors remained in the dark. Everything else in our body is relatively reliable: heart, muscles, lungs, immune system. Why should I brain? Why should our brains, of all things, experience lapse after lapse? Thinking is a biological phenomenon. Evolution has shaped it just as it has the forms of animals or the colors of flowers. Suppose we could go back 50,000 years, grab hold of an ancestor and bring him back with us into the present. We send him to the hairdresser and put him in a usual suit. Would he stand out on the street? No, of course not. He would have to learn English, how to drive and how to operate a cell phone, and we had to learn these things too. Biology has dispelled all doubt uh, physically, and that includes cognitively. We are hunter gatherers in Hojavos or H&M, as the case may be. What has changed remarkably since ancient times is the environment in which we live. Back then, things were simple and stable. We lived in small groups of about 50 people. There was no significant technological or social progress. Only in the last 10,000 years did the world begin to transform dramatically. With the development of crops, livestock, villages, cities, global trade, and financial markets after industrialization, little is left of the environment for which our brain is optimized. If you spend 50 minutes in a shopping mall, you will pass more people than our ancestors saw during their entire life. Okay, so read this for few minutes. Alright, guys. What has changed markedly since ancient times is the environment in which we live in. Back then, seeing things were simple and stable. We lived in small groups of 50 people, and though there were no significantly technological or social progress, we lived in small groups of about 50 people. There was no significant technological or social progress. Only in the last 10,000 years of the world began to transform dramatically with the development of crops, livestock, villages, cities, global trade and financial markets. Since industrialization literally slaved off the environment for which our brain is optimized. If we spend 50 minutes in a shopping mall, you will pass more people than our ancestors saw there during lifetime. So in our hunter gather past activity paid more often than the reflection did. So if you fail to run away and it turned out to be a tiger, the price of a first degree error was death. On the other hand, if you had just fled from a boat, this lesser mistake would have cost you only a few calories. It paid to be wrong about some things. Whoever was wired differently existed the gene pool after the first or second incident. We are the descendants of those hominins sapiens who tend to flee when the crowd does, but in the modern world, this intuitive behavior is dangerous. Today's world rewards single-minded contemplations and independent actions. Anyone who has fallen victim to stock market hype has witnessed it. Evolutionary psychology is still mostly a theory, but a convincing one, and that much. It explains the majority of flaws. Through all of them, consider the following statement: every Hershey bar comes in a brown wrapper, thus every candy bar in a brown wrapper must be a Hershey bar. Even intelligent people aren't susceptible to this flawed conclusion. So are native tribes that, for the most part, remain untouched by civilian. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors were certainly not impervious to faulty logic. Some bugs in our thinking are hardwired and have nothing to do with the mutation of our environment. Why is that? Evolution doesn't optimize us completely as long as we advance beyond our competitors. We can get away with irrational behavior. Consider the cuckoo. For hundreds of thousands of years, they have laid their eggs in the nests of songbirds, which then incubate and even feed the cuckoo chick. This represents a behavioral error in evolution has not erased from the family This is not deemed to be serious, so a second parallel explanation of why our mistakes are so persistent took shape in the late 90s. Our brains are designed to reproduce rather than a research of the truth. In other hand, we use our thoughts primarily to pursue whoever convinces others secures power of thus access to resources such assets represent a major advantage for mating and for rearing offspring. The truth is at best secondary focus and is reflected in the book market. Novel sells as much better than non-fiction titles in spite of the latter's superior candor. Finally, a third explanation exists: intuitive decisions, even if they lack logic, they are better under certain circumstances. So-called heuristic research deals with this topic. For many decisions, we lack the necessary information, so we are forced to use mental shortcuts and rules of thumbs. If you are drawn to different potential romantic partners, you must evaluate whom to marry. This is not rational decision. You really solely on logic. You will remain single forever. In short, we often decide intuitively and justify our choices later. Many decisions take place subconsciously. A fraction of a second later, we construct a reason so that we feel we made a conscious choice. Alas, we do not behave like scientists who are purely interested in objective facts. Instead, we think like lawyers, crafting the best possible justification for predetermined conclusion. So forget about the left and the right brain. A semi-intelligent self-help book describes much more is the difference between initiative and rational thinking. So finally, a third explanation exists: intuitive decisions, even if they lack logic, are better under certain circumstances. So-called heuristic research deals with this topic. For many decisions, we lack the necessary information, so we are forced to use mental shortcuts. So, to make things simple, I have set myself the following rules. In the situations where the possible consequences are large, important personal or business issues, I try to be reasonable and rational as possible when choosing. I take out my list of errors and check them off one by one, just like pilot does. I created a handy checklist of errors and checked them off one by one, just like a pilot does. I created a handy checklist decision tree and I use it to examine important decisions with a fine tooth comb. In situations where the consequences are small, regular or diet with sea, sparkly or flat water, I forget about rational optimization and let my intuition take over. Thinking is tiring. Therefore, if the potential harm is small, don't rack your brain. Such errors won't do less damage. You will live better like this. Nature doesn't seem to mind if our decisions are not perfect as long as we maneuver ourselves through life, as long as we are ready to be natural when it comes to the crunch. And there is one other area where I let my intuition take the lead when I am in my circle of completeness. You practice an instrument, you learn the notes and tell your fingers how to play them. Over time, you know the keys or the strings inside out. You see a musical score and your hands play the notes most automatically. Warren Buffett reads balance sheet like professional musicians read scores. This is his circle of completeness, the field he intuitively understands and masters. So find out where your cycle of completeness is, how to get a clear grasp of it. Hint, it's smaller than you think. If you face a consequential decision outside that circle, apply the hard, slow, rational thinking. For everything else, you give your intuition free rein. So, guys, that is for today. Let me know in the comment section if you liked it, and if you have any questions, write down in the comment section. So, just embrace the change and give yourself enough chances to grasp the new. So I am ending this meeting here. Let me know if you want more videos like this. Thanks for joining.